Welcome back to So, What's Your Process? The show where we talk with creative people from all different fields about what they do and how they do it. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Allie.
And Allie, we've got an exciting guest today, don't we?
We do. We really do. So today's guest is an indie filmmaker, actor, and producer with a true passion for independent cinema. He's known not only for his work on projects like The Chair and Zombie with a Shotgun, but also for his outspoken advocacy for indie creators and sharing the ups and downs of filmmaking. He's got a reputation for championing authentic storytelling, grassroots support, and the resilience it takes to thrive outside of the Hollywood system. And he's got a brand new project that's in the works that I know we're going to talk about. I am truly excited to welcome Kyle Hester. Kyle, welcome to So, What's Your Process?
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
Excellent.
well, we're excited to have you here too. I want to talk to you just in general strokes. A lot of the work that you do in film leans in the occult, in the horror, in the sort of the unknown. And I'd love to peel back what led you to these. What's drawn you to these kinds of stories?
Well, I think it's just what indie film does. I think it's like if you're gonna get like an audience that's already there in independent film, I think it's kind of important to go where the audience is, and that's mostly into the horror, supernatural, like that kind of thing is where you see a lot of like a pre-built-in audience for it. I think you can branch out into other things kind of once you get your name out there and known a little bit more. But I think it's kind of like where's the audience, and let's go have some fun.
That is fascinating. Okay, that's
Yeah.
super interesting. And that sort of leads me to something else, because you do work in that field, but you play within the different genres of that. You've got your narrative films in that world, but you've also got these mini documentary series that you've
Mhm.
done, these cryptids around the world, hauntings in New York, haunted at Lake Lanier, haunted in New Orleans, some of which have got tens of thousands, over 100,000 views on YouTube, and it's directed by you, produced, narrated. And I was wondering if you can talk a little about what drew you to telling those stories and sort of trying to take on these stories of folklore and history.
Well, I think that like what's fascinating is what is the unknown, the mysteries of life, and it seems like no matter what the subject matter is, it's like we're always trying to explore and find out what the answer is to things. So it's like I think that the macabre and the spooky, and it's kind of like there's that undercurrent of like a mystery. And I think so if you can get people thinking about like what's possible, and like what is on the other side, and like what happened to those graves, the graveyard that they just moved the headstones and but they left the bodies there and built over it anyway. It's like poltergeist. It's
Yeah.
like you have that kind of thing, like real life stuff, that's like, whoa, that's crazy. So the more you delve into like the unknown curiosities, I think that's it. It sparks the interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, clearly, because they made a whole They're Here movie.
Yeah.
I have a question. Something Kyle said actually triggered my question. So you act, you produce, you create, you write these films. So you're wearing a lot of hats, and there have to
Yeah.
be moments where your roles kind of, I don't know if conflict is the right word, but there has to be, I'm guessing, some sort of moment where during the process of creating that film, when you're wearing all these hats, where those roles butt up against each other. And how do you decide which role to lean into, which takes precedence? And have you ever had a moment where maybe your actor side disagreed with your filmmaker or director side, and how do you resolve that?
Yes, that is an excellent question. So it is complicated. So with Preacher 6, I was the producer and the lead actor. So it's like, so there were moments there when I'm like, going on, about to go on to set and do the acting thing. And then I have someone over here, saying, well, I got this problem, what are we going to do about this? So it's like, it's in that respect, it's difficult, like just to focus on the acting, and I think that's why some films can suffer, if someone tries to wear too many hats. I think that I enjoy producing, so it's like because it's all creative. It's like the producer. A lot of people don't really know what a producer does, and a producer basically creates the whole thing. So a producer will hire the director. So it's like, so you have like the vision kind of comes from the person that's making the film, which is the producer. So they'll bring in someone that they feel is equally creative, and can do their thing directing it, take that load off of the producer, because the producer is dealing with every single thing that goes on within the project, the art department and the clothes and the cast and where's it going to be and how much are people getting paid, and like, so it's like everything that goes into making the thing is what a producer does. So it was very, very challenging, and I think there was a lot of coffee involved, and but it was, I had a blast, and I would do it again.
Yeah, that's a lot. So, I mean, the producer also has to take care of the money, though, right? So, how do
Right.
you balance your creative vision with your budgetary constraints? Like, what does that process look like?
Can we do this? How much do we have? What can we get away with? And those are the questions, And so it's like with Preacher 6, it's like, with the technology that's available now, as far as visual effects, is way different than what was available when we first shot the film. So there was a point where it was like, um, some people who said that they could do things, visual effects wise, weren't able to do those things, because of the scope of the script. So now those things are possible, and so that's like, it's okay. So we get to finish this film, and so I think it was very ambitious. The kind of thing, like the script is super ambitious for like for an indie film, with like no Hollywood money, because we
Yeah.
raised the money from Indiegogo and GoFundMe and like all T-shirt sales and whatever, and private investors. So there was yeah, it was a lot, but
Yeah.
here we are, almost done.
Yeah, yeah.
Big budgets, $10 at a time.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so let's talk about that then. So, you've alluded to it, but Preacher 6, this is a project that that you are finally wrapping up right now, and this has been a long process. I know there's a trailer on your YouTube channel from 7 years ago for
Yep.
this film.
It's a great trailer. Folks should go look at it.
It is, and people should, in general, just check out your YouTube channel because there's a lot of great stuff on there. With that said, what has it been like to have a project that is consumed, years of your life? How has that process gone? I know you talked about some of the VFX restraints and how over time that has developed. What other stuff has happened over that time to lead to this journey from years and years ago starting to now being in the final stages?
And
Right.
and have you had moments where you just felt really kind of despondent? If you did, how did you get over that?
Well, yes to that, and basically, COVID had a lot to do with the delay in this whole thing. I actually got COVID and then dealt with the long COVID symptoms
Mm.
For a couple of years, where like I basically couldn't really think, So, and it's like, and so I don't know if you know anything about the long COVID, but there's like brain fog and like, all this kind of stuff. And so I had like that, where I couldn't remember anything. And it was like, how am I going to do things? Because I couldn't remember one thing to the next what I was doing, So it's like, how am I going to finish a film if I can't remember the scene that I was just working on? And like, where am I going to put, what was it? What was I just doing? So it was like, it was like a 2-year kind of like process of just, getting better, getting my mind back in order. So that was a huge challenge in itself. But it's like along the way, it's like, you have people overpromise and under deliver, on certain things, and then it's like, okay, so then as a producer, I have to deal with it. It's like, okay, so what am I going to do, to get this thing finished? So, and it's like, money's all gone, all of that, all the fundraising for all this stuff and post production, and so that was way back in the day. So now it's been basically, I taught myself how to edit on DaVinci Resolve, and so now I have those skills now, which are going to serve me well for the future. So I don't have to rely on, basically I can do the whole thing. So it's like those other the documentaries like The Haunted Lake Lanier and like all that kind of stuff is like, was me on the job training, for how to take a project start to finish, and make it, edit it, do all the things. And so now I have those abilities to where it's like, okay, I can make this happen myself, so that was it took me like to get proficient, at editing, it took me a couple of years to do that. So and so this is one of those things where a lot of people are like, will be surprised that it comes out, because it's been so long. It's like, oh, I figured, and I've had even friends go, really, you're going to finish it? I figured you just would have canned it, I like moved on to something else. But it's like, but that's not me. It's like I feel obligated, to the people that put in their money and their investment and their time, and people, my friends and people that came to help make the thing. So I gotta finish the thing. So yeah, it's been a journey.
That is, and there's so much that's really interesting in there.
Yeah.
I want to quickly, is for our people who are watching and not just listening, behind you, you've got your editing software up. Is that Preacher 6 behind you right now on the computer?
Oh, this right here. That's Preacher 6.
No, on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it is.
He's like, I've been just working on it. It's just there. I don't even see it anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this is Naomi Grossman. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. And this is Carmen Argenziano. Carmen Argenziano, he is no longer with us. So I met him on the set of Andersonville, which was directed by John Frankenheimer. And I had this kind of Rolodex in my head of actors that I'd worked with over the years. Like if I ever had an opportunity, to work with these actors, these are the people, so I worked with Naomi Grossman in The Chair that was with Roddy Piper. So I was like, she was awesome. So I was like, oh, if I had a chance to work with her again, I'd bring her on, and Ezra, this is, you kind of barely see him. It's Ezra Buzzington. I don't know if you've seen the Snickers commercial, the horseless headsman, the headless horseman, that had the big head. So that's him.
Oh, wow.
That's Ezra. And he actually got me the audition for The Chair, way back in the day, because I saw him posting something about it on Facebook. So it's we didn't really have auditions for the movie, because it's like I had Peter Murnick, who is I met him also on Andersonville. He's amazing actor. He was in Justified and a bunch of other stuff. You recognize him. He's 6'5" and bald, and plays sheriff and everything. So look him up, Peter Murnick. He's a great actor as well. But so yes, that is DaVinci Resolve and Preacher 6.
It's cool.
I love it. I love it. A little sneak peek for the audience. I wanna touch on something that you talked about with the casting. We had another filmmaker on earlier this season, and something that he said that stuck out to us was 90% of directing is casting. And just getting the right people in place. And I think that I know in my experience when I did my short film was having the right people there
100%.
is just such a game changer. And you've touched on that with cast, and then also with people over promising and under delivering. I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about the importance of putting together the right team.
I think that like that's the be all end all. Regarding casting. It's like that's actually I saw John Frankenheimer was at the Directors Guild, and he was giving a speech, and he was like, the two most important things of making a movie are casting and sound, which
Mm.
I thought was something else that was interesting. So that stuck with me. So I knew casting because like I've been an actor forever. So it's like I've been an actor first, that's like, through high school to Cal Arts and like, all the things. So it's like, so it all starts for me with acting and being a good actor and surrounding yourself with that kind of talent, because it's like, it's going to stick out. Like, basically you're the least the person with the least acting ability is going to stand out in the movie. So it's like you've got to have everybody's got to be on par, so that was like a big challenge, for me to get all these great actors. And Zach Galligan, is in Preacher Six, and he was in Gremlins, and he's amazing, and he has like a telegraphic memory, like he can like read the script and all of a sudden he knows it. I wish I had
Oh,
that.
me
It's like,
too.
man, it's like the memorizing lines, especially after COVID, because I thought I was gonna have to quit acting. I was like,
Mm.
because I couldn't remember anything. So it was like, oh well, I guess my acting career is over. So thankfully that's better now, And but yeah, it's like he could just like pick it up, read it, and so he's like watching other people like with the scripts, and he's just like going off, and after he's read it like once, it's like, damn, so cool. So, but yeah, you got to surround yourself with people who can do the thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm right there with you on that photographic eidetic memory thing. You mentioned the COVID a couple times, and I think for people who haven't been through long COVID, it's really hard to grasp what that really means in a day-to-day basis. And clearly, I mean, the struggles are real, especially for someone like you who is trying to do things that requires a sense of continuity and memory. But I'm wondering, is there anything that came out of that experience that ended up being positive, or some sort of unanticipated life lesson or learning, or some sort of positive that you really didn't expect and may not have experienced if it hadn't been for what was overall a very negative experience?
That's a good question. I think that for me, like the personal journey of getting something finished, it's like kind of like no matter what, it's like you have the goal, and you don't. I was actually surprised when people would say, I'm surprised that you have kept going with it. It's like, why didn't you just like, let it go and move on, that kind of thing. And so those kind of comments from people surprised me, because it shows to me what they would have done, so it's like, huh,
Hmm.
that's interesting. Okay, it's like that tells me something, about the person saying that, and so for me, it's just like sticking to um, you finish what you start, and I think that like that's when by deciding to do it with Indiegogo, because it's like it's not, you don't like get everything. Like Kickstarter is like you get the whole budget or you get nothing. So with Indiegogo you get however much you get. So we did multiple campaigns, and just like we would you know make a little, put it in the bank, make a little, put it in the bank, like that kind of thing. And that's how we have finished the film to this day. But it's like, so if you decide to do Indiegogo like that, it's like you have to have the mindset of like, okay, we're doing this, because there are going to be people that are counting on you to do this, instead of just like, oh, we raised a few grand. Sorry, guys, I'll send you a poster. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I love that. I think that speaks a great deal to your dedication, and also um, your sense of trustworthiness, which I think is pretty unique these days in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
So, given given the challenges of that, would you say as an indie filmmaker that raising the funds is the biggest challenge, or are there other challenges that as an indie filmmaker are even greater?
For me, raising the funds was 100% the biggest challenge. So, I mean, it's like, and it's different now. It's like back when we did the film initially, it was like, Indiegogo and Kickstarter were like super popular for indie film. So it's like, so people were like, yeah, let's do this, grab a perk and like, all that kind of stuff. And now it's kind of like the blush is off. It's like, oh yeah, another Indiegogo. So it's like it's more difficult, to do it. And I have a bunch of followers, on Twitter and now Blue Sky, and so it's like, it's I don't know. I don't think that it, like, for today, it's like you have to have a big audience, or have like people in your cast that have a big audience that are willing to put themselves on the line and say, hey, pitch in. Because if it's just like one person trying to raise money for a film, it's very difficult. So I would say, anything that's possible. It's like if you want to, do car washes, like do things outside of the scope of what you would normally think of to raise money. Like I've screened T-shirts personally. So it's like whatever had to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually really want to talk about your advocacy for indie filmmaking, but I just have one quick question first. You
Yeah.
mentioned being on Twitter and Blue Sky, and I have found that for visual media, a lot of people are on Instagram. And I was wondering why are you not on Instagram given that your medium is very visual?
That's a good question. It's funny. Oh, by the way, I was just on. There's this like app called Real Short. I don't know if you've seen that. It's like vertical shorts, and they have like these shows, right, on these vertical shorts. I feel like, how long have I been out of the loop here on this? But so there's this app called Real Short.
Oh
I
no,
just
you're
booked
over
that role.
25.
Yeah. So, which is why, but I cut my hair and I don't have a goatee because I just booked this role as a cop on this Real Short program, and so that's interesting. What was your question?
My question was, given that Instagram is such a visual
Oh, right.
place for
Um,
visual media, why aren't you there?
right. The reason that I brought up Real Short was because two of the actors that were there with me, that were with my same manager, were like, has like, hey, we should exchange information, and they both said, what's your Instagram? And I was like, I'm not really on Instagram. They're like, what? So it's a fair question. I was just talking to my wife this morning, about that. It's like, I think it might be time for me to get back on Instagram, just because I had put so much energy into Twitter. So
Mhm.
here's what I did. This is back in the day when you could do this. I followed 1,000 people a day because you could do that. So now you can't really do that. You can't do that on Twitter anymore. You like 400, but after you follow like 30 people, it'll like, pause, like that kind of thing. Like they don't want you to organically get people to know you, because basically following people, it's like a handshake. They're either going to go, oh, who's this that just followed me? Oh, some actor guy. It's like, okay, cool. They look at your page and go, oh yeah, or they go, yeah, whatever, and they don't follow you back. So it's like, it's not a big deal if they don't, because it's like, if they don't, they're not interested, so it doesn't matter. But it's like, a follow is a handshake. It's like, hi, I'm Kyle. You want to follow me back, or no? It's cool either way. But it's like, how else do you get to know people? How else do you get to build an audience? It's like, and that can go with anything. With a podcast. So it's like, if you follow people that follow podcasts, from your podcast site, then you're following people that are already interested in podcasts. So it's kind of like going directly to the audience that will be interested in what you're doing. So like, I'll follow people that 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 click like on and follow other like major actors, because they're film fans. So it's like, and that's basically how I built an audience for what I've been doing, for the past years.
Yeah.
Still not sure why you're not on Insta though.
I'm gonna get to answer your question. I'm gonna get back on. I'm gonna get back on. It's just like, oh yeah. The simple answer is I had my hands were just so full with all of the other things.
Yeah.
So I will start.
Yeah, social media is a lot of work. It really is. It's a lot.
So what are you, his social media manager now? What's happening?
Taking on a new role here.
Instagram. Okay, circling back to the original question, sir.
Yeah. No, seriously, I was like, what's going on? Yes, back to film.
Oh, I'd love to talk about his indie advocacy too, though.
Oh yes,
yeah,
let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're a huge advocate for the indie, for other indies out there, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about that, how you got involved in that, what you do, how that whole process works for you.
Well, starting out, okay, I came to Hollywood and like basically got into, all right, back up. So I was in Atlanta, did a couple of movies, did Last Dance with Sharon Stone, that one. This poster is actually from outside of a movie theater. It's like when they were taking down the posters, is like the guy that like worked at the theater. He was there, and I was like, I'm in that. Can I have that poster? And he gave it to me. So it was so cool that he did that.
Yeah.
But so that's how I got that. But anyway, so I did a couple movies in Atlanta, and some shows at the Alliance Theater. So I was like working, as an actor, and it was great. And I was like, oh, I should go to LA. So then it came out to LA, and when you get to Los Angeles, you are dealing with you're fighting against everybody. It's like you're in competition with everyone. So everyone you see on television is in front of you, to get a part. So it's like you're basically and then there's all of the the kind of thing that's in any business, nepotism and favoritism and all this kind of, and I owe this guy this and favorites, and well, the manager is casting and he's not my manager, so I have no shot there because I'm not rep by this company, or whatever. So it's like a lot of like politics and who you're with and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you got to be good, first of all, and then you have to have all the other things. So basically I would like go through, third callback, fourth callback, and with producers, on like, big stuff. And then, hey, Kyle, dude, you're going to, Colorado, man, pack your bags. And then like 4 days later, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, bro. I mean, the guy that you were going to get the part from, the executive producer had promised that part to a friend of his. So that was the only part that he was right for. So, and that's a true story. I'm not going to say the movie, but it's like, but those things happened like a few times. So I got pretty like frustrated with the whole thing. So it's like, all right, I've got to do something, outside of that. So it's like, okay, so let's look into indie films, so then that's kind of like the beginning of how the independent film quest started, with just like to take myself out of the political rat race, of like, oh, can I please have a part acting, sir? Like that kind of thing. It's like understand, Kyle, it's a thing. So that's why Quentin Tarantino, makes his own movies. It's like you have the filmmakers, that will do their own thing. I mean, you have Rob Zombie making movies now, so it's like taking the acting to being a creator, as well. And I never thought that I would do this. When I started this, I just wanted to be an actor. I'm going to be an actor because what I do is what I've trained to do, and I love it. And so it's just going to all happen, and then you get into the reality of the situation where if you're not a family member or, or have the connections, it's very difficult, to get in. So then you find a way or make one, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you really have made your own path. I was looking at your IMDb a little while ago, and it's really impressive. I mean, just on there alone, you've acted in, directed, or produced, over 60 projects, just across your career, which is really prolific and very impressive. I was looking through that, and I was wondering if there are any projects throughout your career, anything that you have worked on that really stands out in some way from either being personally fulfilling, artistically fulfilling in some way, that may not be one of the ones that you're that are at the top of your resume.
Yeah, I think that we are there's more to come that I think would answer that question, than is in the Rolodex of things that have happened. Because it's like, where
Mhm.
I was years ago as an actor looking for parts, to now, basically kind of creating my own roles, and as well as roles for other people and movies. So after Preacher Six is like, we have a lot planned. So it's like I'm like chomping at the bit to get this done so we can get on to the next things. My wife is a screenwriter, so she wrote Preacher Six, and and that's a whole story in itself about frustration, and making something out of thin air. Because she had been a writer for novels and poetry and all that kind of stuff for a long time, and I had been working on a project um, that was involved with someone else, and I'm not going to name. It's going to be frustrating for you, but not going to name names or anything about what it was. But I've been working on a film for about 5 years, and this all of a sudden it got kind of taken out from under us.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, that's really, really frustrating. So it's 5 years of my life. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Screw this. We're going to do it ourselves. And so I'm out there, and I had a couple of cocktails, and my wife's all pissed off, and we're all pissed off of this whole situation. And I had talked to her earlier about, like, let's make a movie, you know, and you want to write a movie. So I go out in there, and I had like an axe um, throwing target in the backyard. So I've been like throwing my axe and just venting, getting frustration out, and I go back into the house, and and here's my wife, and she's going like this, and I'm like, what are you doing? She says, I don't know, but it's really cool, and we're gonna make a movie about it. You
I
know,
love this.
Wow.
So yeah. So then she just started riffing on all of this stuff about what was going to be happening in this movie that ended up being called Preacher Six. And so yeah, so basically Preacher Six was born out of the frustration of trying to work with other people and going, well, let's just do it ourselves. So that's why this movie will get finished. So to come full circle.
I
Wow.
love that. I actually really love that. That's a great story. It's a great story. I'm wondering, so were there other things? Were there like happy accidents, other happy accidents along your filmmaking journey where you really didn't expect something or it happened and then it turned out to be really cool and amazing?
Well, you know what's funny? I mean, we moved into this place that we live in West Hollywood, right outside of West Hollywood, and there's this house up on the corner that's got these little signs on it that are like cute little signs, like "Do your best," just keep going, all this like little cute things that are like nailed to this tree, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Someone really cool must live here, right?" So this 4 years later, and mind you, I'd been just like out of no representation, no manager, no agent, just like working on my own stuff, right? So turns out that guy that I met across the street, who's a neighbor, is an actor, and his manager is the guy that lives in that house with the signs on it. And I met him at my neighbor's party, and ended up signing with him. And so now that guy with the cool signs on the tree, that's now my manager. And I just did that real short thing through him.
Yep.
So it's like it's like if you allow the things to happen, the signs that you see, it's like you're in the right place at the right time. You just have to let the thing open the doors,
Mhm.
that are presented to you,
Right.
because there's always doors that you can open. And it's just like going like, oh wow, if this hadn't happened and that wouldn't happen and this wouldn't happen. So it's like I think there's a lot to that, you know, um, on this side and the other side, and like people working all together to make things happen for you. So I think that you just be have your eyes open to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fond of saying if you're on the right path, the universe will conspire to help you succeed.
100%. Also, I mean, on that note, it's like where you step is where you go. So like the
Mm,
universe doesn't really care what path it is. It's like what path are you choosing?
yeah.
So it's like when you put your energy towards a certain thing, that's what's going to present itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Well,
All about choice.
yeah, exactly. Well, speaking on the path that you're on right now, I'd love to know what the plan is for Preacher Six now that you're in post production. You're going through that. What are your goals for this film as far as release? Are you planning on doing distribution festivals, anything like that? What's the goal there?
Well, basically, this film will be done probably in 6 weeks. So as long as I have the time to do it, it's like if I don't book anything else, then I'll be able to finish it in like about 6 weeks, and then we're going to put it out through Film Hub, which is a distribution platform, and which is like basically as indie as you can go, because when you put yourself out through Film Hub, it's kind of like they don't do marketing for you, so that's all on you. But whatever money you get, you're going to get. So it's like um, the I've heard so many nightmares from distributors, where the filmmaker never sees a nickel, and that's because of contracts and how much people charge for artwork, and we're going to redo your trailer and we're going to charge you 5 grand for that. So they build all of this money that you now owe the distributor, before you ever see a nickel.
Mhm.
So I said, screw that. And so we're just gonna basically put it out, and Film Hub, gets everything, onto the places like Amazon and Tubi and Fossum and all those other sites. It's like, if you have a film that's decent and passes the quality control, it'll get submitted to all those platforms, which is exactly what a distributor does, is get it on those platforms, unless you have like big stars and you can go like straight to like the Hulu channel, or those other cable channels and get a deal that way, you know. But yeah, I would rather on the face of it go through a company where I know we're going to get paid, than to wonder, are we ever going to see any money from, are
Mhm.
they going to tell me the truth, with how much money they've gotten? Am I going to get like, the accurate stuff? So and I've seen the things not happen for people, so and I will not be one of those people.
Yeah. Yeah. Pay artists for sure. And I'm going to guess that's something a lot of people didn't know. I certainly had no idea about that. It does make me wonder also what else goes on behind the scenes or in filmmaking that and that you wish audiences would understand that maybe they don't.
I think that it's important to have good energy on a set, and I think that like when like for me with Preacher Six is like I got everybody together and hey, we're doing a thing, and thank you all so much for being here and being a part of it and all that kind of stuff. And I think that most sets that I've been on are not like that. It's like
Mm,
it's like you come on and it's just like what I just did. It's like show up in the green room, and I'm an actor and I'm just like looking around, and everybody's like looking at their phones and the scripts and whatever, and I haven't been introduced to anybody, so it's like it's kind of awkward. So I think that having like a warm, welcoming environment that lets everybody relax, and just like kind of like enjoy themselves and do their job, and not be this like first day of school, kind of like a odd thing. So I think set energy and chemistry is super important.
Yeah. Trying to build that camaraderie.
And it really does come out in the in the final product. I know that that's the case. It's something that I talked about with my team for my film, was just making sure that it was a positive set. And I want to talk about just your general your process here, because you've given us so much, and I think that when you boil it down to its core, I feel like your process is built on not. It's a combination of not giving up in adversity, and also opening doors both for yourself and for other creatives outside of the Hollywood vortex there.
But also really relying on that network.
I think it's a combination of the learning how to do things, that you didn't know that you needed to know how to do. It's like it's different. I mean, it's different for what somebody wants to do. It's like if somebody wants to just be an actor, that's a different thing than if somebody wants to be a filmmaker. So and it's like I didn't know that I was going to end up being a filmmaker when I started as an actor. So it's like if I would have known this then it would have been like, okay, I got to learn some things. I'm gonna start learning how to edit a lot sooner. And because that's like a huge part of the storytelling too. It's like I'm working on a buddy of mine's documentary, and it's just like Hilton Ruiz from Zombie with a Shotgun. So he's also a documentary maker, which is awesome stuff. But it's like learning like the subtleties of timing in editing. It's like breathing. It's like a little cut here or a little holding a shot too long or too short, and it feels weird, but it's like there's that breath to it, and it just flows into the next shot, and you don't even notice that happened. So it's like learning, using my acting abilities into the editing, has been really helpful. So like I would say to an editor, take an acting class, so that you can feel the flow of that conversation and how it should be, as opposed to like, you see on YouTube videos, all this like, you could cut the air out of everything so that you never had to, they're just talking and talking and talking and talking and cut, so it's all really fast, but then I can't breathe when I'm watching this, and I'll click off of something, because of that like fast edit thing, because they're trying to keep your attention. But so I think that movies and YouTube are different, but it's like my point is like learning the flow of the thing that you're doing.
Yeah, I actually love that. And I love the imagery of the breath flowing into the next. I'm actually a big fan of playing the pause, like the music, the notes and the pause.
I mean,
get to play
like
that pause.
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Yeah.
that? There is
yeah.
no dialogue for the first 10 minutes. It's just the visual storytelling of what's happening, the walking and and the looking and the playing with the rifle and the talking to himself, it's like takes you into the mind of what's happening in that film. And I think that like, it's like when you're writing, it's like, if you're writing a film, it's like, you don't have to have dialogue for everything. You just let like the image just speak for itself and carry people through the image to the dialogue.
Yeah. Cause that opening sequence is like super gripping. You definitely don't want to look away. I have a final question, I think, here, and it's a little off the wall, but I like these questions. Okay. So if you could describe your filmmaking in terms of a flavor, what would that flavor be? Spicy, sweet, bold? What would the flavor of your filmmaking be?
Wow. I would say kind of like a salmon dinner. You know, it's flavorful, but not too much. But it's like, ooh, I would like some more of that. You know, without like, so it's not like a steak, which can be like too much. You know, but so yeah.
And also
like
nourishing, full of omega-3s and things that are good for you. So you should consume it.
Exactly. There's nothing processed in that, you know.
I love that. I love that.
I love that too, and also a wonderful, wonderful little callback immediately to our playing the pauses there, with you taking the time to really think about a good answer there. I love that. I think this has been a great episode. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely. I wanna pass the mic over to you. Whatever you would like to promote, where can people follow you, keep up to date with Preacher 6 and all your other projects, and anything else you'd like to plug?
Right on. Well, yeah, I am on all. You can look me up. I'm on all the platforms. You know, and I will be back on Instagram. So if, you know, it's Kyle Hester. You just look up my name anywhere, and Preacher 6. Just put that on your mental files, because it should be on Amazon or Tubi and all the above by the end of the year. So we're going to do that. My wife just released her first book, 13 short horror stories for bedtime. That just came out yesterday on Amazon. Yeah, so super excited about that too. And yeah, you can find, basically, if you go to Fossum and just look up my name, you'll find all those documentaries as well. And Fossum is an app. It's like Tubi. So yeah, Haunted Lake Lanier in New Orleans. You'll find all that on Fossum and YouTube as well.
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for being our guest.
We look forward to seeing Preacher 6, and we look forward to seeing everything else that comes down the way from you. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks so much. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. And good luck. So what'd you think?
I think Kyle's really cool. It's really, really interesting to talk with a filmmaker who's, you know, been in this world, who's started as an actor, has continued acting, like as a wonderful
and filmmaking.
Exactly. He's a multi-hyphenate creator in the film world. Did theater in Atlanta. We got a little clip of that. That was cool. A little shout out to Alliance Theater, where a lot of people I know have worked, which is a great theater company and is a testament to how good of an actor he is. And what really, really hit me at the very beginning was that he talked about, you know, he clearly has a passion for these darker stories, these the horror, supernatural, things like that. But it is, at its core, it is both a personal, you know, inspiration decision, and also a decision of logic, knowing that horror supernatural audience is already built in for indie filmmakers, which is so true. I mean, you see so many like cult classic, you know, thrillers and horror films.
That was actually something you had mentioned to me before we went on with Kyle, was that you know, that's where you originally developed your love, because you're a horror fan.
Oh, definitely.
Fan. And you had developed your love of horror from these, you know, indie, usually smaller budget. What was that one that went like crazy? The Blair Witch Project.
Yeah,
like that's one that went just crazy wild. But you know, it's like the people who do indie. I mean, the people who do horror films are drawn to that indie, and they're so creative. And I should have asked him about this, like, because I feel like horror filmmakers just do so much. I think we had a conversation about this. They just do so much.
They are the
most
creative
they just make
filmmakers.
Things happen. We should have asked him about that.
We should have.
We
really should have.
You know what? If Preacher 6 comes out, you know, we'll just you know, when it's out.
Well, when it comes out,
like, you know, after it's been out, we can have him talk about that maybe.
I think it's something that we talked about when I was going to a film festival a little while ago, and I went to their horror block, and what I said was horror filmmakers are the most resourceful and creative filmmakers in the world, because you've got to do all this crazy stuff with, most of the time, almost no budget. You know, there is films, you know, the Blair Witch Project, things like that, that are
they didn't have much of a budget.
They didn't have much of a project, but what really got me into horror films in high school was going to YouTube and looking up these little horror short films that people would post online, and it'd be 7-8 minutes. I still remember one I watched when I was 15, about this, just like a masked killer clown that just like was like stalking this person, and it was
so much for my parental guidance. The heck, man?
Okay, I was 15, not like 5. And I watched it at school in the film lab.
Okay.
But it was, I was just blown away by how tense and scary and creative this film was. And knowing now, as a filmmaker who has made a short film, those are not big budgets. There's not a lot that you have. There are not a lot of resources. The team that you've put together are usually young, rising creatives around your age trying to get their break into the film world just as much as you are. And it's so impressive. And, you know, to circle back to Preacher 6, I mean, this labor of love that he has been working
7
on
years.
for at least 7 years.
At least 7 years.
And for it now to finally be almost here, you're in the final stages of it. I can only imagine, because I know how I felt seeing the final the final couple cuts of my short film, which was a couple months of process, and how much that felt like.
Well, in fairness, yours was a short. His is like
his is well. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I was feeling that with like such a smaller project, compared to years and years of his life, I can only imagine. You know, and he was very, you know, stoic in that way of like, you know, we're working on it, we're wrapping it up, it's almost done. I have no doubt that he's just that he's got emotions that are just flying off the wall.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and of course it's not done, because post-production, of course, there are costs involved. You know, we mentioned the sound, and you know, that's a very expensive process. People don't realize. And then you've got the actual distribution to get it into those festivals. You know, there's costs involved. So you know, if anybody wants to support indie filmmaking, I'm sure Kyle would love to have some support for the distribution of
and for his for his next film as well, and for his, you know, he's already thinking about the next things.
Exactly.
And it seems like he's got the distribution sorted for the most part, with Film
He's got
Hub,
the network.
and he's gonna. I think that's gonna work out very well for him, and I think that. I feel pretty confident that Preacher 6 is going to be. You know, we'll definitely watch it. And yeah, I'm really excited for him. I'm excited to see what he does next. I'm excited to see Preacher 6. And in the meantime, thank you all so much for joining us on another episode of So What's Your Process? Join us next week for another exciting guest. And in the meantime, make sure to follow, to like, to turn on post notifications wherever you consume this podcast, whether it's audio, whether it's visual, so that you never miss a new upload. And in the meantime, Allie.
In the meantime, make sure to tune back in for our next episode, which is going to be amazing, here at So What's Your Process?
Bye-bye.